So what I will be working on is partnering with Barry and Jeff and the leadership team to drive the World Market strategic initiatives process to advance our brand and to ensure our future in the specialty retail space. And as Barry talked about, it's not easy out there and it's not getting any easier. Collaborate with our parent company to ensure we have adequate human resources and financial capital to support the growth and make sure that World Market can deliver all the potential that it has. Manage the day-to-day corporate operations and decisions and the ongoing integration activities. Integration will be with us for many years to come, and it's a two-way street, as we'll talk about later on. Direct supervision for home merchandising, visual marketing, inventory management and sourcing, and human resources. You've met these folks. This is no small task. Probably spend a lot of my time here. And because I can't help it, I'm still the finance whisperer. We still have to close our books, prepare our budgets. We don't get a hall pass for that. We need to open profitable stores, as Barry talked about, and we need to exceed our financial goals, as we've done for 3 years in a row, and this is going to make number 4. So that's where I'll be spending a lot of my time. So now just briefly, a state of our union with Union. So accounting. We completed the Lawson conversion at the end of April. We had a false start the first time when I came to talk to you, but we managed to get it across the finish line. But what that means now is that a lot of your internal reporting, your store P&Ls and other reports look different than they did in the past, and that's a combination of changes to our accounting policies as well as financial statement presentation. And so one of the things that we're looking at, and you're going to have a session later on in the week with Charlie and Farhan, is to talk about a revised store P&L that really just points you to the areas that you need to focus on: sales, shrink, store labor, and those expenses that you really control within your 4 walls that will make a difference if you manage them effectively to your bottom line, and will alert you to the fact that there's something going wrong in your box if the numbers look kind of funky compared to how we've planned them. And then also, in the third quarter of fiscal 13, our results will now be included in Bed Bath & Beyond's comp results when they put out their press release and their earnings announcements every quarter. As many retailers do, our e-commerce business will be included in our comp calculation, as it has been for with Bed Bath since they've been reporting. For us, this is roughly, depending on the time of year, an additional 1 to 1.5 points on top of the store comp in terms of the overall results for the company. We've completed our migration to First Data for debit, credit, and private label credit card processing at the end of July. This should have been seamless for your stores, and there are significant savings tied to this for both World Market in terms of our fees as well as our parent company, because it puts us into a higher tier in terms of volume, and so everyone wins in this one. Real estate. Barry talked a little bit about the strong backbone that we now get to leverage with the Union office. We have one of our own now in terms of a real estate director that reports up into the Union organization. Marilyn DeIlly was promoted to real estate director and now has her own territory supporting all concepts. So I think she may be around at some point during the week, so certainly give her a congratulations. Non-merchandise purchasing. So we've moved to a centralized model, which is something that we were planning to do at World Market even prior to the acquisition. And so now you're working with new vendors, whether it's for bags or supplies. We're ordering all our fixturing. Mel and his team have been working closely with Teresa and her group in Union to get all the fixturing to make sure that we can meet the needs and the timing of the relays that we do in our stores. And also the repair and maintenance portion of the work in the stores used to funnel kind of jointly between Tammy and Joel. Now is really handled by Joel, and Tammy's much more on the procurement side. Cotswold's going to be our first new store that's jointly opened with the Bed Bath construction teams and World Market teams. And so there are some changes to the process. We talked about last time we were together that fixturing will not come from our distribution centers. It will go directly to the stores, and there'll be a whole host of coordination activities that will be different than what we've done in the past, but could ultimately end up being significantly more efficient. So this will be our first one through. I'm sure there'll be some bumps along the way, so certainly keep the feedback coming, and then we'll continue to hone that process. Cross-concept merchandising. This is really just beginning in earnest, absent the food initiative, which has been going on for, I think, almost 4 years now. So we continue to do the store within store food initiative, including some beverage and potentially a standalone beverage store in New York, something that we're currently evaluating. We're also looking at developing a test for select World Market home merchandise in certain stores, Bed Bath stores and Harmon stores. And so Marilyn and team are continuing to work with the merchants at Bed Bath to figure out how we can make that come to fruition. And then on the product development side, this is where I think there'll be leverage going both ways in terms of Bed Bath being able to leverage our product development capabilities. We are our own brand, and so we spend a lot of time and activity and energy around product development, and I think that there are some things going on around Create a Gift, Paper Shop, et cetera. And national contracts, another thing item that will be affecting your stores is we'll be moving to the shared provider for our fire alarm monitoring system, and we're also in the process of doing all our Helo lighting retrofits. I don't know what Helo stands for, but my guess is high energy, low output something. But anyway, it saves energy and is much more efficient for the stores, and it makes the merchandise look a whole lot better. Okay, so now I thought we'd move on to a brief financial update. So we'll talk a little bit about our 2013 overarching strategic initiatives, and just to remind everyone, continue to elevate and differentiate the World Market brand from other specialty retail competition. So we continue to invest in department relays and fixturing. We're all familiar with the tabletop quadrant moves, the bath relay, the new Create a Gift and Paper Shops lighting. We're just beginning to roll out new fixturing, wire weld fixturing for food and wine, which is similar to what we've been doing in I still want to call it pilot stores. That's not right. In our store within store with Bed Bath. And so we'll see the results on that as we get that rolled out this year. But really what this is kind of baby steps towards evolving this to the store of the future. And I know we won't get there fast enough for Maryland, but we are moving forward into the business. And we've spent almost $7 million since we've gotten out of our line of credit in this area to be able to advance the brand. If you remember, we lived in our line of credit during the dark days. We paid that off at the end of 2010, and then really started to be able to moderately reinvest in the business. And so in the last 3 years, in total, between stores, IT, distribution centers, visual, et cetera, we've spent almost $60 million, or we will have by the end of this year. Maximize World Market's marketing efforts to reinforce our unique brand positioning and increase brand awareness and drive customer traffic. This year, we're going to relaunch the World Market Loyalty Program, and John will be talking to you about this. We started our program 3 or 4 years ago. Again, another garage project with spit and chewing gum, but we were able to get to critical mass. We now have over 8 million mailable customers that we can talk to in terms of customer-centric marketing. Our program initially was acquisition-oriented. Now we're moving into retention-based marketing so that we can retain the most loyal customers and drive the behavior that we want. And they're, kind of a cheap date. We haven't had to put too much money into this, so really doing a good job. Increase sales per square foot productivity in existing stores. So there's a lot of talk going on about this. I know Fred is kind of heading up the sales per square foot group, but some of the things that we're working on here are tiering and editing our assortments versus the prototype, and I think we all know that prototype is kind of a loose term. It only covers about half the stores in the chain to increase the efficiency in the box. And that's not only from inventory perspective in terms of making sure that we're in stock on the right types of goods all the time, and managing our markdowns, but also from a store labor productivity. So we're not having to have storage containers out back where we really don't need it. And again, that's something that our online store can help us with as we continue to grow the High Cube business. The queue lines rolled out now, or will be this year, to almost about half the stores, which really allow us to maximize impulse merchandising. We have a lot of categories that apply here, particularly at the seasonal times of year. Pick up for stocking stuffers or Easter, et cetera. These are high margin goods, and so we're really starting to take advantage of that. And then the last thing that I think Barry touched on was, the competition, particularly in the beverage area, which is the area that's got the most, well, I would say the most under siege at the moment in terms of competition to develop competitive response plans that can be scaled to whatever market is in need of some assistance with encroaching competition. Accelerating our store growth in new markets and new states. So Barry put up his slide and showed you where we are today and where we're going. You know, I think ultimately we've always believed we can be a 500 store chain. So we're just about halfway there. And Barry, I think, said our first threshold was 300 stores. So we should be able to get there pretty quickly. All stores that we've opened or relocated this year are exceeding pro forma sales budgets. Not sure who's doing those budgets now, but I'm thinking maybe we want to look at that. So we've spent about $13 million in the last couple of years opening new stores as we continue to grow. Continue to grow the e-commerce world market, the world market e-commerce business. Again, we relaunched the web last year under Jason's leadership, increasing the functionality and the look and feel of the website to be much more visually aligned with what you experience in the store, really creating an omni-channel view for our customers. And I won't get into his thunder, but we're testing a few things that are on this page. So we'll keep going. And again, direct-to-consumer capital, just under $7 million in the last couple of years. So you can see where we're investing in the business, certainly the growth levers. And as Barry also pointed out, we now are in a position where we're able to take some risks and try some things. We've got a balance sheet that will allow us to get into better locations in terms of real estate and also be able to fund the growth of the business. So I can't, do this without having the levers exercised, so we're going to do this real quickly. So here's where we are. And Gina, I know these are numbers, but they're really small, and people won't be able to read them. Exactly. So this is where we are through week 22. And really, it's the anatomy of comp, right? All these levers put together develop our store comp. And this is just the store comp. We're not including Jason's numbers at this point. So for the first 22 weeks, traffic was just down slightly, just about flat. And a lot of retailers are struggling with traffic, even despite the improvement in the housing market. It's just, people are not quite there yet. And what we see further down on the page in terms of the average unit retail, we're seeing compression on the ticket or on the average unit retail because of the higher redemption in the coupons. So for that period last year, we did a 2.8 comp, and we brought the full year in at a 4.7% comp. So what if we do the store levers at last year, and we bring traffic to flat? So if the store conversion's up 60 basis points, UPT's up 1.4%, and that ends up at a comp at 1.6%. That's below our financial plan for this period. Our financial plan for this period is about a 3.5 comp for those 30 weeks. So still coming up short. It's only a 2 comp for the year. So what if we do our current year-to-date increases and we add some traffic? So we get a point in traffic. We get halfway to our goal. Conversion goes up 70 basis points. UPT goes up 1.3%. We end up with a total sales comp of 1.8%, just slightly better. Not enough to get us there. Now if we put all levers at budget, 2% increase in traffic, 80 basis point improvement in conversion, and a 2% increase in UPT. That gets us there. That's a 3.8% comp for the last 30 weeks of the year, and it brings us in at a 3.4% comp for the full year, which is basically at budget. And then I can't help myself, so what if everything was at last year and we got a little lift in the average unit retail? So some of the things that you'll be hearing about from the merchants later on talk about the timing of when we're bringing in outdoor for certain hot weather, warm weather stores, et cetera. That's something that can really drive the ticket because it won't be discounted and it's high price point furniture. So if we get a little love from our average unit retail and we meet what we accomplished last year, and then we hit all our other financial targets, that puts us to nearly a 5 comp for that period, which sounds like something that we should be doing. And that brings us to a 4 comp for the full year. So I say we go for the 4 comp. What do you say? Woo-hoo! Okay, so, in closing, I just wanted to tell this group and to the leadership team that I'm both honored and humbled to be the president of World Market, and I'm very eager to contribute in my expanded role. We're off to a really good start for the first half of the year, and we have a very strong second half planned that you will be seeing in the upcoming presentations for merchandise and marketing. And yes, Jason, that includes e-commerce too. It always does. And I would just like to end with something that our fearless CEO, Barry Feld, always says, and that is, good luck to us. So thank you very much.